Thanks for joining me this morning, everybody. I am coming at you live this morning from Teesdale, this beautiful background behind me. So there might be just a little bit of a delay in the live stream, so just be patient with it. And you're always welcome to watch it later, because I'll post it. One thing I wanted to talk about for just a moment before we start our practice is this notion of courage, particularly as we get ready to celebrate the legacy of Martin Luther King, having the courage to dream and the courage to be authentic, the courage to speak your truth, the courage to take a stand. And I wanted to share with you just a little excerpt from a book by David Whyte called Crossing the Unknown Sea. And just putting this intention, or sometimes what we call sankalpa, into our practice this morning. And so you're welcome to just come into a place in your body where you can be receptive to these words this morning as we open our practice with this. To find good work, no matter the path we have chosen, means coming out of hiding. Good work means visibility. It is all very well having a dream, but the moment we put that dream to hazard, we have the possibility of failing. How many times have we kept a hope or a dream in abeyance because the possibilities of failure were too much to contemplate? If we failed at that central precious thing, then who would we be? Could there be anyone left at all? Far better to choose something smaller, or some logistical task we don't mind getting wrong, something we could recover from, something where we are in effect really invisible to ourselves and to the world. Better to choose a world where things don't matter. Better not to appear fully on life's radar screen. But making ourselves visible arranges for a different kind of disappearance into the work, the task, the audience, the life that opens up, where the fearful one who first dreamt is burned away by anticipation and a living contact with a future we might want to call our own. Making ourselves visible enables us firstly to be found and then invited in by the world we desire. So one invitation I would pose this morning is that invitation to come out of hiding, to make yourself a little more visible, to have the courage to step into the unknown or the things that might scare us a little bit. And so go ahead and close your eyes and feel into your breath and your body this morning. Maybe there is something in your life you need to put in motion, a step that needs to be taken, and maybe that can be part of your practice this morning, putting that in motion. If you're familiar with Ujjayi breath, that what we call victorious breath, will you go ahead and move into that? Whisper breath, engaging the muscles at the back of your throat. So you're narrowing the passageway a little bit for the breath to come in and out of the body, and you'll create an oceanic sound with this breath. So you can Go ahead and move into that if that's comfortable for you. Good, and let's go ahead and start to move the upper body a little bit, side to side, starting to mobilize the spine and the muscles of the back, perhaps a little bit through the neck and the shoulders. So for this first little bit, I invite you to just move in a way that feels good to you. And so you could move into a little bit of a twist, or a side bend, or a side stretch. Good. And then we're going to go ahead and make our way back upright. Bring the hands behind you. Uncross your legs and ground your feet to the floor. Hold the shoulders back, lift and open up through your heart, through your chest. And let's windshield wiper the knees side to side. So you'll start to just move a little bit side to side, opening up through the hips and your lower spine. Good. And then bring the knees back up. We're going to pick up the right leg, cross the outer ankle over the left knee if that is accessible to you. You can always recline onto your back and come to that figure 4 on your back. So this is a seated version of pigeon or figure 4 pose. Flex your right toes back and push or draw your right knee forward, like you're trying to push your knee toward the front of the room. Lift up through your chest again. Good. And then maybe do a little bit of movement back and forth. Good. Take another full breath here. Okay, we're going to go one step further here, and I know this is a tall order right out of the gate, but one option is that you drop this left leg down and come into what's called a double pigeon or firelog pose. So your ankle is stacked over your knee and your knee is stacked over your ankle. Your shins are right on top of one another. If that's too much, you can straighten out this bottom leg and come into what's called Janu Shirshasana. This one leg is straight out in front. Okay, so either way, we're going to eventually come into a little bit of a fold. So fingertips behind, flex your toes back, draw your knees and your thighs down toward the ground. Lift up through your chest. Take a couple breaths here. This might be where you stay. Or start to walk your hands forward in front of your shins or over that left leg that's out in front of you, if you're in that variation. I'm starting to get into the hips here. Feel your breath. Can you draw your breath down into your hips, into your pelvis? And maybe for this last breath or two, send a sigh out your mouth and just let it cleanse and let it go. Good. And then we're going to bring it back up. Nice and easy. Uncross your legs and go back to your windshield wipers. Just a couple of these side to side. Just letting things kind of move and flow. Good. And then we're going to go ahead and take that same thing on the other side. So you'll lift your left leg up, cross the ankle over your knee. You can always recline and come into figure 4 on your back. Flex your left toes back quite a lot and draw your left knee and thigh forward. Good. And then maybe do a little bit of movement side to side. Perfect. And then we are going to collapse this down into double pigeon or fire log pose. So now your right leg will drop down, your left leg will stack on top. Either that or stretch that right leg forward and bring the sole of the left foot to the inner thigh. Okay, so be really mindful of your knees here. This is targeting the hips, not the knees. Okay, so flex your feet back quite a lot and draw your knees and your thighs down toward the floor as you lift and open up through your chest, through your heart. Just to make sure you're feeling for the sensation in your hips and not your knees here. Okay, and then maybe walk your hands forward and start to fold. You might be thinking, who would start your practice with double pigeon? Yeah, it's that kind of class, you guys, but just do it. Take another breath here. And you can send a sigh or two out your mouth. Let it cleanse, let it release. Good. And then make your way back up. We're going to uncross the legs. Whew. Go back to that little windshield wiper side to side. Perfect. All right, my dears, let's go ahead and move to the hands and the knees. And I'd like for you to move the hips in a big circle going clockwise. And so as big and broad as you can. Big, huge circle going clockwise. And then pause and go the other direction. Awesome, everybody. All right, make your way into downward facing dog, this first downward dog of our practice. And so pressing down through the palms into the floor, lift your hips up and let your head relax and release here. And maybe do a little shifting of your weight between the feet so you can kind of pedal the floor with your feet, feeling into your ankles, your calves, your hamstrings, but all the while maintaining a strong and lengthened spine. Okay, so we don't want to be in flexion here, a rounding of the spine, keeping the tailbone lifting a little bit, drawing both thighs back and letting the crown of the head just lengthen toward the thumbs. So think about this really long and lengthened line of energy from your tailbone out through the crown of your head. Take 2 more breaths here. We've got some little 4-legged furry friends this morning, so don't mind that. Bend your knees, look forward, step or hop toward the top of your mat. Extend your spine, so you're going to lengthen to that halfway lift on the in-breath. And then exhale, fold, and bring it in. Good. And that much again. Inhale, extend forward, chest and belly lift away from the thighs, lengthen your spine. And then exhale, fold, and bring it in. Good, and let's come all the way up to standing. So as you press down through your feet, you'll stretch arms all the way up, reach tall, lift and open, and then exhale, hands together, heart center. Good, take the arms back up on your in-breath, stretch up tall, maybe in a little gentle back bend here. Exhale, dive forward and fold.
Uttanasana, or forward fold. Halfway lift as you inhale, lengthen forward. And then plant your hands to the floor, step to your plank pose. And hold here for a moment. So we're starting to build a little bit of heat in the arms and the shoulders and the core. You can always modify this by coming to your knees. No problem there. Take another full breath here. Lift through your belly. Shift your whole body forward a couple of inches and lower down slowly, Chaturanga and Urdhvasana. Come all the way down to the belly. And then open up into a little baby Cobra pose. Stay for an extra breath or two as you draw the heart and the sternum forward and the shoulders pull back and down. And then exhale, downward facing dog. So starting to create a little bit of a flow here. And what we're doing now is just some variation of sun salutations. I think most of you probably know that. Take another full breath. Lift through the tailbone. Move your chest a little bit toward your feet. And then bend your knees, look forward, step or hop to the top of your mat. Lengthen out your spine. So come to that halfway lift as you inhale. Exhale, fold, bring it in. And then come all the way up to standing. So ground your feet, stretch up tall, maybe a little mini back bend. Exhale, hands together at the heart. Let's flow through that one more time. This A series, sun salutation. Reach up tall, inhale, follow your breath. Exhale, dive forward, folding it in. Halfway lift as you inhale, Arda, Uttanasana, lengthen. Plant your hands, you can step or hop it back, moving right into your Chaturanga. Lower down on exhale. Inhale, Cobra, or maybe up dog. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Lifting through your hips, drawing your heels toward the floor. Now the heels may not ever make it to the floor, and that's fine. That's just the direction they're headed. Take another breath here. Bend your knees. Let's look forward. Take it back up top, top of the mat. Extend your spine, lengthen, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Now we're going to bend the knees deeply. Feel your feet on the ground and extend your arms forward and up into a chair pose, Katasana. And so keep your thighs and your shins parallel here as you continue to pull back through the hips and maybe sit a little bit deeper. Try bending your elbows into a goalpost position here of the arms and lift up through your chest. Take 2 more breaths here. Make sure the breath is full and deep and you're not holding your breath. On your next exhale, dive forward, folding it back in. Halfway lift, inhale, lengthen. Plant your hands, step or hop it back, Chaturanga. So you can skip the Chaturanga if it's feeling like it's too much for the wrists or shoulders, or move through it. Cobra or up dog as you inhale, downward facing dog. Good. Now on your next in-breath, let's extend. Right leg back, reach it up. 3-legged downward dog. Take an extra breath here. Bend your right leg, lift and open through your hip. And see if you can do that without shifting your shoulders or your hands or your left foot. So really kind of isolating the hip there. And then step right foot through. We're going to come into a high lunge. So that back heel will stay lifted and we'll extend the arms forward and up. So reaching fingertips and crown of the head up, lengthening the tailbone down toward the floor. Squeeze those inner thighs toward midline. Take another breath. And then bend your elbows like we did in chair pose, goal posting the arms. Bend your back knee at a hover. So this is a little kind of funky turbo lunge. Breathe here, you guys. strong through that lower body. Hover that back knee a little bit closer to the ground. Turn your chest open. Take one more breath. Good. Now straighten up that back leg, reach your arms up. Ground your back heel open to warrior two. So maybe adjust your feet a little bit. Right toes forward and ground it through the inner and outer edge of that back foot. Shoulders soften down. Good. Take another full breath here. Maybe deepening into that lunge a little tiny bit. Keep your breath strong and steady. Looks good, you guys. Open up your palms. Open your chest. Nice. Take your arms down. Clasp your hands behind your back. Shoulders pull back. Knuckles down. Lift your heart. Take a full in-breath here. And then exhale. Dive forward into Ostrich Pose. So your legs and your feet stay the same. You're just bringing the upper body down, bringing your chest, or your right shoulder toward the inside of that right knee. Now you can always bring your hands down to the ground for a little bit of support here. Take 2 more breaths. And then release your hands down to the floor. Okay, now this is a little funky, but your legs are going to stay exactly the same, but you're going to walk your hands kind of forward toward that left diagonal. Okay, toward the kind of beyond the left, front left corner of your mat just a little bit. Push into the ground and pull the thighs back. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, just take a look up at the screen. Good. Full breath here. Now, walk your hands over to your left and spin your right toes. So all 10 toes are facing to the left side of your mat. Feet are parallel. Legs are straight. Take an inhale, lengthen your spine. And then exhale, fold. So you're in a wide-legged standing forward fold. This is called Prasarita Padottanasana. Let your head relax, feel your feet anchor down, and breathe here. Hips and hamstrings, try not to take tension or bring tension into your neck and your shoulders. 2 more breaths. Good. Lengthen, halfway lift, inhale. Now we're going to walk the hands back up top toward the top of the mat. Step your right foot back to plank pose. Hold here for a moment. Stay strong and lifted through your core. Now you're going to shift your weight toward your right hand, roll to the outer edge of your right foot for side plank or Vashisthasana. Flex your feet back, pull your hips up. You can always come down to that right knee or right forearm. For a little extra challenge here, stretch your left arm forward alongside your ear, lift your hips up higher, and pick up your left leg. Good, last breath, you guys. Awesome, bring it all the way back to plank and come right down to your knees. That's my gift to you. All right, take your knees a little bit wider. Reach your right arm out and up, open the chest, thread the needle twist. So your right arm will go underneath your left. This is Hoover, everybody. We love him. He just can't help it. He needs to be on camera. All right. Let's go ahead and unwind out of that. Send your right arm back out. Reach it up. And then bring the hand back to the floor. Awesome, you guys. All right, downward facing dog. So let's go. Let's all meet back up in down dog. And your left leg will stretch back. 3-legged dog. Feel into the power and the length, the reaching through the leg and through the toes. Now, remember, we're going to try to keep everything pretty steady. But bend your left leg, lift up through your hip. And so keep those shoulders and hands and right foot pretty solid and neutral. And then step your left foot through, coming into that high lunge position. So again, your back heel will stay lifted, strong in your legs and your lower body. So you're going to think about the tailbone drawing down, fingertips in the crown of the head reaching up, pulling in those opposite directions. Squeeze inner thighs together, take another breath. And then we're going to bend the elbows, goal posting the arms, and bend your back knee at a hover. So similar to what we did just a moment ago, squeeze those shoulders back, open up the chest. Take a couple more breaths here, maybe lowering that back knee even more, and opening up through the heart. Last full breath. Stretch back up, inhale. Now, right heel grounds to the floor, open it up to a warrior two position. Maybe adjust your feet a little bit, make sure those right toes are pointing straight forward. Start to feel this in your hips, inner thighs, and groin. Open up your palms a little bit, shoulders away from the ears, lift up through the chest. Good, and exhale, arms down. Clasp the hands behind your back. So draw your shoulders back, open your chest, take an inhale here, create a little bit of length, and then exhale, ostrich pose. So your left shoulder aims toward the inside of your left knee. Keep your feet rooting down, pull the thighs back, let your head go. Couple more breaths here. You can always bring your hands down if you're feeling this in your joints in an unhealthy way. Release your hands now to the floor. Remember, the legs stay the same, but you're going to walk your hands kind of forward toward that front right diagonal. And almost like a lunge version of down dog. You'll push into the ground. I know your hands are off of your mat, but you'll push your hands into the ground and continue to pull your thighs back in that opposite direction. A couple more breaths here. Good, you guys. And then we're going to walk the hands to the right, spin the left toes, and straighten out that left leg. So you're in that wide straddle. Lengthen on your inhale, flat back. And then exhale, fold. 5 deep breaths here in your wide straddle. Now, you could choose here to unweight your hands and maybe clasp your hands behind your back for a different variation. Or if there's something else you'd prefer to do, that's fine as well. Good. Take one more breath here. Release your clasp, bring your hands down, lengthen, halfway lift. Walk your hands back up to the top of your yoga mat. Step your left foot back to plank pose. Good. Pause here for a moment, lift and connect to your core. Shift your weight into your left hand, roll to the outer edge of your left foot for side plank, or Bakasana. You can always come down to the knee or the forearm. Pull your hips up, you guys, for a little extra challenge. Stretch that right arm forward alongside your ear, and maybe float your right leg up. Woo! Good job. Last breath. Awesome. Bring it all the way back to plank. Come right down to your knees. Knees a little wider than the hips. Left arm reaches out and up. Thread the needle. So that left arm underneath your right. Good. Take another breath here. And left arm stretches back out. Reach it up. And bring the hand back to the floor. All right, as promised, Dolphin Pose. So come down to your forearms, your elbows drop down to the floor. Now do this with me, you guys. Grab a hold of opposite biceps. Notice how that arranges your elbows directly underneath your shoulders, or at least it should. Keep the elbows right there. Don't let them move. And then rotate your forearms back so they're parallel, fingertips pointing forward. Like, it looks like railroad tracks here. Parallel, let your head relax. Tuck your toes under. And pull your shoulders away from the ears so you're not hiking your shoulders up. Pick up your knees and your hips float up toward the ceiling. The knees do not have to be all the way straight. They can be a little bit bent. Do not let your elbows creep out wider than your shoulders. Keep them kind of isometrically pulling toward one another. Tiptoe forward a little bit toward your face if you can. If there's not the space to do that, then let that go. Pull the belly up. Literally feel like your belly button, your navel, is lifting you up away from the ground. So this is actually a core pose. Try to get out of your shoulders and out of your neck. Now you can either keep it here or stretch your right leg up toward the ceiling. No pressure to do that, it's just an option. But think about your right leg pulling you up, same thing like with your core, lifting you up a little bit higher toward the ceiling. Make sure you're breathing, you guys. Now switch legs. So right foot goes down, left leg goes up. Breathe here. And can your breath help to kind of smooth things out, bring a quality of ease? Take one more breath here with the left leg up. Good. Now, left foot to the floor. Take one more breath in Dolphin, everybody. And send a sigh out your mouth. Let it go. Knees down. Child's pose. Woohoo! Good job, you guys. It wasn't quite 3 minutes, but it was pretty close. Good. Take another breath here. You could even bring the arms back along your sides for a little embryo pose. Good work. And then you're going to come back up. Let's all meet up in downward facing dog. Take a breath here. Bend your knees, look forward, step or hop to the top of your mat. Lengthen out your spine, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Come all the way up to standing. So stretch up, reach up, and then bring the hands together at the heart. Good. All right, so we're going to revisit something we did at the very beginning of practice, which is a variation of figure 4, but we're going to stand and work with the balance. You're welcome to be next to a wall or next to something you can hold on to if that suits you. So what we're going to do is shift the weight into the left foot. I'm just going to mirror you. The left foot, pick up the right foot, cross the ankle on top of your left leg, flex your toes back, bring your hands to your hips, bend your standing leg. Okay, so you're in a balance. It's kind of like a one-legged chair pose. Flex your right toes back like we did. And remember how we were pushing the knee forward? You're going to push it kind of out and down and sit a little bit deeper. Now, extend your arms forward alongside your ears. Awesome. Think about both thighs pulling back and sitting deeper. And notice if you're kind of letting this right hip draw back to get out of sensation, lift your hip up and pull both thighs back again. Bring your hands down to the outer knee and the outer foot, like you're holding onto that right leg. And then you're going to pull on your leg and bring your chest closer to your shin. Feel free to grab a couch or a wall, or if you've got a yoga block, you can do that. Now, some of you might even be able to bring your hands down to the ground and take it all the way into a fold. Breathe here, you guys. Keep that right hip lifted and pulling back. Good. Now make your way back to your one-legged chair, back to your balance. Notice if you're not breathing, and breathe, and then release and bring your foot down and hands come to the heart. Okay, you can kind of shake it out a little bit. I'm not sure what feels that more, like your standing leg or your leg that's on top. Okay, other side, just so we're even. Pick up your left foot, so you're gonna shift your weight to your right foot. Pick up your left foot, cross the ankle, up above the knee, flex your toes back, and sit. So you're bending into that standing leg. Woo, I'm feeling this side. And extend your arms forward. And just notice if this left hip is dropping and you're just kind of doing something like this. Lift your hip up. Good. Pull the thighs back, like you're literally about to sit down into a chair. And then bring your hands down, hold on to the left foot and the knee, and start to pull your chest toward your left shin. Be really careful and mindful of your left knee here. Take another breath. Maybe the fingertips come down, and you can come into that fold. Breathe here. Good. Now you're going to make your way back to your balance, back to your one-legged chair, and then back to your standing. Good. Walk it off, you guys. Take a walk around your mat. Good. All right. So let's go back to the top of the mat. We're going to put this all together in a second. But go back to the top of the mat. Stretch the arms up. Inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Halfway lift, inhale. Now listen, we're going to take the hands to the top of the mat and work with what's called crow pose or Bakasana. So this is an arm balance where we try to aim the knees to the upper arms or triceps like this. If you want to take a look up here, you can. So I'm going to try to lift my heels up and work my knees to my upper arms. And then I've got to shift my shoulders and my whole upper body forward a little bit, use my core, and pick up my feet. So play around with this for a couple rounds. You can always come out of it and come back in. Now it's important that, so if the shoulders are back, kind of behind the wrists, then it's really hard to lift your feet off of the mat. So it does take a little bit of courage, right, to come forward enough, like you're peering over the edge of a cliff, and lift your feet up. Now if you crash and burn, well, you crash and burn. It's part of life, I guess. You can always put a little cushion out in front. Good. All right, when you've had enough of that, let's make our way back to down dog. You can go through a vinyasa if you want, or a chaturanga, and then downward facing dog. Perfect. Now, send your right leg up, reach it up, bend your leg and open through your hip. Step your right foot through. Good. Ground your back heel, warrior two. Good. So we're going to start here, warrior two, shoulders soften down. Take another breath as you deepen into that lunge a little bit. Now we're coming into what's called side angle pose. So your right elbow will come towards your right knee. Let it rest. Stretch your left arm forward alongside your ear. So lengthen through the left arm and ribs and side body, reaching through your fingertips. You might slide your right hand down so it's actually on the ground or on a block. Now send your left arm straight up and behind your back. So that's a half bind You can keep it there, or maybe you drop down and wrap that right arm underneath your leg. So this is not required, it's just a variation of this Bakasana side angle pose, a full or half bind. Take 2 more breaths here. Good. Now you're gonna come back up to warrior 2. I know that right leg is feeling something. Straighten up your right leg. Reach forward with the right arm and the fingertips. Take triangle pose. Right hand down, left arm stretches up. Good, you guys. Think about your spine continuing to lengthen, extending the crown of the head toward the front of the room and opening up your heart and your chest. Take another full breath here. Good. Gaze down at the floor. We're going to do one more pose, a half moon, Arda Chandrasana. Shift your weight into your right foot. Send your left arm and left leg up. So we're coming into a standing balance. Now, think about like doing a cartwheel and kind of getting stuck part way. So right foot and right hand on the mat, left arm and left leg stretching up. You have the option of bending your left leg and reaching back for your foot, coming into a half bow. Good, you guys. Take another huge breath here. Open it up. Exhale, release. Bring left hand down. Step your left foot to the very back of your mat. Good. Now listen here. We're going to send the right leg back. Reach it up. Three-legged down dog. Bend your right leg and open your hip. Good. And then bring your right leg into Pigeon Pose. So your right knee moves forward. Stretch your left leg back. We're doing lots of different versions of pigeon today. So this is what we typically think of as kind of garden variety pigeon. Lift your chest up, coming out of your lower back, and then walk your hands forward into your fold. Good. Couple more breaths here. And then make your way back up. Now tuck your back toes under. Send your right leg back. Reach it up, back to a three-legged downward dog. Bend your leg and open up the hip, and maybe that's where you stay. This pose we've been in a bunch of times. Or you can unweight your right hand and actually flip your dog over into a three-legged back bend. Only if that feels good to you. Mindful of your left wrist and shoulder. Take one more huge breath here. Bring it all the way back to your down dog or move through a vinyasa. Chaturanga, to Cobra or up dog, and then downward facing dog. Good job, you guys. All right, let's all meet up in down dog. And the left leg goes back. Reach it up. Bend your left leg, open your hip. Step your left foot through, warrior two. Okay, so arrange your feet, your legs, so that front leg is bent, back foot rooting down firmly to the floor. Take another breath here, strong in your lower body. And then we're going to come to side angle, Parasvanasana, left elbow to left knee. Stretch your right arm forward alongside your ear. So we're going to start by stretching as much as we can through the right side body. So press with your right foot, reach through the right fingertips, create a little more space. Maybe take that left hand down to the ground or block. Good. Now stretch your right arm straight up. If you haven't already, take your right arm behind your back. This is a half bind. Maybe keep it there, or you could drop left arm down, wrap it underneath the leg for a full bind. Again, this is not required. It is just an option. Make sure you're wearing the size that fits and you're still connected to your breath. Take one more here. Good. Release out of the bind if you got it. Come back up to warrior two and then straighten up left leg. Reach forward. Take triangle pose on this left side. So left hand down, right arm stretches up. Breathe here, you guys. You don't have to reach the floor. You can use a block or bring your hand up a little bit higher on the leg or the shin. Couple more breaths here. Lengthen forward through the crown of your head and open up your chest a little bit more. 2 more breaths. Good. Now look down at the floor, coming into Arda Chandrasana or half moon. So you're shifting your weight forward onto your left leg. Send your right arm and right leg up. Again, like you're partway into a cartwheel and you get kind of stuck. Active through the top limbs. Now maybe bend your top leg, your right leg, grab your foot. Coming into that half bow variation. Take another breath here. Now release out of that, everybody. Bring the right hand down, step back to your lunge. Now, press through your hands, take your left leg back, reach it up, 3-legged downward dog. Bend your leg, open your hip, and then take pigeon. So the left leg moves through into pigeon pose. So your right leg is stretched out behind you, square off the hip, stay up on top of that back knee, and then walk your hands forward and settle. Good, you guys. Take a few more deep breaths here, feeling into that left hip joint. Good, and let's start to make our way back up. Plant the hands to the floor. You're going to unweight your left leg, stretch it back, reach it up toward the ceiling so you're coming out of pigeon. Bend your leg and open, and you can be right here, or if you feel like it today, unweight your left hand and flip your dog over into a wild thing pose or 3-legged back bend. Mindful of the right wrist and the right shoulder. Open up your chest, keep reaching, take another breath. Good, and all the way back to your down dog, or take a vinyasa. Good, as you make your way back to downward facing dog, go ahead and come down to your knees, and you can just have a seat for a moment. So we're gonna pause here. This is kind of our last hurrah. We're going to put a couple of these poses together. And we've been talking a little bit about courage today and kind of that willingness to take a risk or come out of hiding or try something new. So we're going to work with a pose called Flying Pigeon. So Flying Pigeon is kind of a combination of crow and pigeon. Now, you can revert back to standing pigeon or regular crow pose. Okay, you don't need to combine these necessarily. I'm going to kind of demonstrate this. If you're familiar with it, you can go ahead and do it. But I'll show you and then I'll talk you through it. All right, so if you recall what we did with one-legged chair, so ankle over knee and sitting into that chair pose, and then we came forward like this. You guys remember this part? This is where you start flying pigeon. And then I'm going to actually bring my elbows in front of my right shin, like this, and maybe drop down a little bit more. We're going to see how this works with these long pants on, but bring the hands to the floor, and you're going to try to lean forward like crow pose, shift forward, and pick up this foot. And maybe, just maybe, send this leg up. Peering over the edge of the cliff, and then bring it back, and we'll do the other side. Okay, you guys ready? Courage! Courage! Okay, here we go. So let's shift the weight onto the left foot first. Pick up the right foot, cross ankle over knee. You can abort mission at any point, okay? So sit on back to your one-legged chair. Bring your hands down and start to pull your chest towards your right shin. Now you're going to get your elbows in front of your shin as best you can and try to pull your right toes around your left arm. Now, see if you can get your hands to the floor. You need to bend your standing leg a lot to do that. Walk your hands forward a lot. Good. Keep your right toes flexed around your left arm. Lean forward, lean forward, lean forward. Pick up your foot, your left foot. Maybe, just maybe, float your leg. Good. Good. All right. You crash and burn, you learn something from it. Okay, awesome. Come back up, shake it out. So before we do the other side, one thing that's super important, you guys, is that the right, well, whatever leg is on top, that this really grips around the arm. Do you see that? Because what happens, if there's not a strong connection there, what happens is that when you try to take this, so if this leg is just kind of, when I try to take that leg out, that foot just slides off the arm. So really pull like you're hooking your toes around your arm, okay? Other side, so your left, you'll probably have one side that's a little bit easier than the other. Left leg up, cross ankle over knee. Sit on back to your chair. Hands to your leg here, fold it in. Keep breathing. Now bring your elbows to your shins. Maybe that's where you stay, or you bring your hands to the floor. Now if you come forward, flex your left toes really strongly around your right arm. Lean forward, pick up your right foot, and maybe extend your leg back. Good. Have we had it, you guys? Anybody out there doing it? Are you guys doing it? Let me see. All right. Everybody's already in Shavasana, so why don't we go ahead and come down onto our backs. You guys are troopers. Woo! All right. Come onto your backs. Hug your knees in to your chest. And then reach up for your feet, happy baby pose. I'm doing a lot of hip openers today, but this one is a little bit different because your back is on the ground, so you can feel a little more stable. And the soles of the feet up toward the ceiling. And then as you do that, your spine, your tail might tuck a lot and you're kind of in flexion. So think about your tailbone pulling down toward the floor, trying to neutralize your spine more here in Happy Baby. It really shifts the stretch for me when I do that. Take another breath. Let go of your feet, pull your knees in. And let's bring the soles of the feet to the ground, wider than the hips. Stretch your arms out wide like wings. And we're gonna revisit this windshield wiper business. So drop your knees to the right, maybe turn your head to your left. And come back up, knees to the left, maybe turn your head to your right. And just go back and forth here a few more times. And you can always hang out in the twist a little bit longer. You could even, as you drop your knees to the right, you could even pick up your right foot and let it rest on top of the outer left leg for a few breaths. Good, and then same thing on the other side, knees to the left, and maybe pick up that left foot, let it rest on top of your outer right leg. There's no rush, take your time. Good, and then bring it back up. You can make your way toward Shavasana, Corpse Pose. And just let your body stretch out and come to ease, come to rest. This place of surrender and letting go for these last few minutes of our practice together. And this is a really important part of our practice to learn how to loosen our grip and to soften and to work with non-attachment and surrender without agenda, without your checklists, your to-do lists. You just allow yourself to be for these last few minutes. To find good work, no matter the path we have chosen, means coming out of hiding. Good work means visibility. It is all very well having a dream, but the moment we put the dream to hazard, we have the possibility of failing. How many times have we kept a hope or a dream in abeyance because the possibilities of failure were too much to contemplate? If we failed at that central, precious thing, then who would we be? Could there be anyone left at all? Far better to choose something smaller
or some logistical task we don't mind getting wrong, something we could recover from, something where we are, in effect, really invisible to ourselves and to the world. Better to choose a world where things don't matter. Better not to appear fully on life's radar screen. But making ourselves visible arranges for a different kind of disappearance into the work, the task, the audience, the life that opens up, where the fearful one who first dreamt is burned away by anticipation and a living contact with a future we might want to call our own. Making ourselves visible enables us firstly to be found and then invited in by the world we desire. And again, that's David Whyte from Crossing the Unknown Sea. And you feel your body here lying on the floor, and the presence of your breath. And you're certainly welcome to stay in Shavasana as long as you'd like. But when you're ready to shift and transition, make your way over to your side for a few breaths in fetal position. And then all the way back up to your seat on your mat. Let's go ahead and extend the arms all the way up, reaching tall. Bring the hands together at the heart. Just an invitation to all of us to have the courage to live authentically, to appear more fully on life's radar screen, to become more visible. And we'll finish with one round of Om. You can join in or you can just listen. Take a full breath in. Namaste.